to a girl, it means a nice guy, but like a... Oh, no, it wasn't like... let's see. We're talking about British people and about grammar Nazis.
Yeah, we
and about
accent.
at some point.
I was going to say about dialects, accents and stuff. Oh, are we back? Go live. Okay, it's still no. Are we live or not? What's going on here?
I can.
YouTube is showing. It's acting like we're live.
Okay.
But it did not deliver a notification yet.
I will check to see if we got an email. Yeah.
You got an email?
Yep. Part 2. Here, look. According to this. So we will assume that we are. Unless something indicates otherwise.
So talk while I figure out that's out, because I'm not seeing... I didn't get any notification. I didn't get an email either.
Huh. So we just had
you probably got an email through your account or something saying from your creator account?
I don't think so. I don't think I get that one. This one said that it was...
Because I haven't gotten anything.
Let's see.
No, you.
I got this on my personal Gmail.
Why would
and
it
that was at 148.
Why would it deliver it to you and not me?
Because
so go ahead and talk about something while I look this up and try to find it so I can.
What's that?
Oh, did it rejoin?
What's that?
Hold on. Okay, it's playing.
Okay.
That's really strange.
Yeah. It's kind of odd.
Anyway, yeah, not sure what just happened there. Technology.
Yep. So anybody that listens to this, we just kind of had a disconnect there and wasn't sure how to reconnect it because YouTube actually said the stream had ended, so...
It does look like you guys should be getting this now, so
yep.
Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, we'll just assume that it is, and we'll go from there.
All right, those were all the points that I had that I actually remembered to write down for today. Did you have any topics that you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, but that wasn't anything that was a rush today. Okay. I do want to, I have some just crazy ideas just to talk about.
Okay, we got about 20 minutes since we were running late due to the YouTube not being not actually being connected live in the beginning. Having to read.
Yeah, that was about 8 minutes. I think it was about 8 minutes until we reset.
I was thinking it was more like 19.
No, I don't think so. I think because we didn't have to reach say 19 minutes worth of conversation. It was only like 8. Yeah, no.
Okay.
But yeah, we can go another 10 if you want.
It's 10 till. That's why I was.
Yeah.
That's why I said 20.
Okay, I got you. That works. There was. Can you scroll down on the
maybe
on the chat stuff?
You know, I never even got around to finishing. Let's see, pop out sound. Do that. Get this out of the way. Rearrange my windows so I can see all this. Shice night.
I am really pleased with the way that this the dry brushing is going today. Really starting to.
So I think it's the oh crap! I'm going to go over my. I need to figure out why my phone keeps not
going
using
back
the
to your
Wi-Fi
data
and it's using my data, so I end up losing my kickback, like $10 kickback or whatever every month because
it's gone over
from listening on the stream.
Yeah, I don't know why that's. I mean, if you, it should automatically default to Wi-Fi if you have your Wi-Fi turned on. And
so I think it's just like
make sure
it's breaking like on my phone sometimes. So
you probably we need to make sure that you're connecting to the Wi-Fi down here too, so that you have a stronger signal. Because if you're connected to the one upstairs, I notice that sometimes it gets a little wonky for me as I switch between them. Like today, I was trying to play Pandora when I was taking my shower, and it was connected to the one down here, and it wanted to be a little crankier, so I connected it to the one upstairs, and it was golden. So it may be something similar.
What my mom was watching, and she said she just noticed the disconnection, so she doesn't know what's going on yet.
Yep. Okay.
Go ahead and talk about something.
Yep. So, I was trying to think one of the things that I want us to continue to talk about is Alan Watts. The more that I'm looking into him, that's one of the things that I'm interested in. But we're not going to delve in that one today. But there was something else that there's a couple shows that I've been watching, and so I want to talk to Randy about The Outsider, which is on HBO. So I will talk to him about that. And then also, there was a movie that I watched. I watched the last Tarantino movie. And unfortunately, we won't be able to describe it much, but I want to talk about it. And well, Randy won't have anything to say on this, so I guess I can just talk to our fair listeners.
You talking about Alan Watts?
What's that?
Alan Watts?
No, this is about Quentin Tarantino's last movie that I just watched.
Oh,
Once
okay.
Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I can go ahead and just talk to people about it.
Is it one that you think I would want to watch?
No.
You don't think I'd like it?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a revenge fantasy.
Mm.
Have you ever been interested in watching a revenge fantasy?
No.
Have you ever been more interested in watching a Tarantino revenge fantasy? The last 4 movies have been revenge fantasies. If you like those, then you would like this probably. But I don't think that you would probably like those. You'd like the one where you went back and they killed all the Nazis, killed Hitler.
Oh, yeah, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
So it's an interesting movie.
I'm like maybe I should watch it again, but do I really want to watch it again? I don't know.
What it does.
Do I really? Am I going to get anything more out of this? I'm not sure.
So the context.
There's so much other stuff that I'd rather be doing.
I'm gonna try to explain the movie to you in a different way and see if you're interested in this. So on the surface, the way that they present the movie is that you've got Brad Pitt, who plays the stunt man.
Brad Pitt's in it? Say no more, say no more.
He plays for an aging actor who is Leonardo DiCaprio. And this takes place...
So he's the stuntman for Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Because they make him be like the less attractive version of Leonardo DiCaprio. And...
oh, never mind. I'm out.
And then his thing is he likes these westerns, so he's creating westerns that are not westerns. So he's creating a western based around that idea.
Uh-huh.
And there's even this kind of inception moment where the guy's reading a western and the girl asks him, "What are you reading about?" And what he's reading about is his life, and it's about like kind of like a person who's failed that's trying to find a different way to get on now that they're a little longer in the tooth, sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of on the shell of it. But the setting takes place where there are some very famous murders that occurred. And just as with Inglourious Bastards, where it does some creative license to rewrite history, he does the same things with some very, very public murders that occurred. And so it's just like, the whole time, I'm like, I told Carrie, they're going to talk about these murders, aren't they? Is that the whole setting here is around these murders? And it was just like, yep, okay. And I'm like, well, he must going to be doing an Inglourious Bastard thing. And yeah, okay. And so that's the movie in a nutshell. And it's interesting because it's a Tarantino movie. And it's really interesting. And that aspect...
interesting. Do you just mean weird?
No.
I love hate with Tarantino.
No,
Some of his stuff is just...
No, I mean, I find him... I like Tarantino.
I think some people like it because it's weird.
Like, no. I mean, I like Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God, it's a masterpiece. No, it's
no, I'm not that way. And I don't need it just to be bizarre and out there. I mean, hell, I didn't finish it, but I started to read when I got through about half of 120 Days of Sodom by Marquis de Sade. There isn't really anything that's going to like faze me too much after that. As far as, oh, you really shocked me. Yeah, okay, whatever. that's horrible stuff. Don't do that. I was a younger man and thought that I needed to expose myself to things. You don't need to read that. So I don't like it just because you shocked me. But what I like about Tarantino is just like he has very interesting dialogue, based movies, and I love the dialogue, the whippy repartee. Yeah, I like that. I like it because they can sound good when they talk, unlike me's. So yeah, it's not that, and it's like, some of his stuff, like I don't like his blood and gore aspect that he puts in his movies. He's gone really over the top with it. I thought Hateful Eight is an amazing movie, but it's way gorier than it needs to be. I really enjoy Kill Bill in several places, but there's scenes of it that's just gorier than it needs to be, and I don't understand what he's going for there. I'm sure there's something, but it's lost on me. That I'm certain. And so this has some elements of that as well. It's gorier than it needs to be in places, but yeah, I don't know. I need to talk to somebody about it, because it's like, what was he trying to say here? And I can't talk to him anymore about it without revealing.
So even mentioning what murders you're talking about would be revealing too much?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll mention it afterwards, and I think
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You don't think so?
I haven't seen it. I just
do you know what murders it's talking about?
I figured I guessed.
Okay.
What murders you were talking about?
Okay. Yeah, and I would imagine that you could. But what did you say?
I guessed.
Okay,
you guessed what they were about, and I was correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I double checked them.
I mean, do you? I mean, if you don't think so, then go ahead. We can talk about it.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. So you're.
Well, do you think just knowing that?
I don't know. You tell me. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if that's intrinsic to the plot. You would.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't tell you if I think that. Would
it is the setting, and I'm just saying. Do you think if you knew that setting, you knew that detail before going into the movie?
Is it a major plot point?
Yep.
That it leading up to finding out that that's what it is. If so, then don't talk about it.
The revenge fantasy.
If it's not, if it's just a bystander, that this is actually like.
No, it is
not
an integral.
Anything that you find out that
it is an integral part.
What they're talking
it is part and parcel to the entire movie.
Then leave it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and that's why I try to dance around it. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's really weird. It's just like, and only Tarantino could probably sell it. And I wonder, did you make it just to see if you could fucking make this thing?
Yeah, that's true. Like, if somebody else made it and who wasn't Tarantino, but they made it the exact same way, you would
never sell the pitch.
Right.
You're not selling.
How
that
much
pitch
is he getting
to
away
anybody.
with just because he's Tarantino?
And probably because he can get DiCaprio and Brad Pitt to be in it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a Tarantino film? Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, he probably has to get those people to agree to do it. You know what I mean? Mm. It's like he knows that, hey, I got this goofy movie, and it's like Sam Jackson says, I'll basically say yes to anything he tells me because, he's given me amazing parts over the years, so I'm definitely interested in what he...
That's potentially one thing, too, is like, I'm not saying it's the case, but potentially, in theory, as long as you had the right name in director and the right name in actors, then you could do anything you wanted and people would watch it.
Oh yeah.
So it could be just any shit you want, and they're like, oh, how avant-garde, how brave of them. Oh, they made fun of themselves by doing it, and even though the movie's shit, it's like,
isn't that kind of
still get a lot of watches?
There's an Emperor's New Clothes sort of thing in there, isn't there? I think it's kind of what you're alluding to.
Yeah.
You could make some piece of crap.
So much of art is like that. It
is
not art itself really, but the art world.
Can art be separated from the artist?
Yeah.
Do you need to know the artist? Do you need to know what the artist's intentions were? There's a ton of conversations kind of
and specifically dealing with like the art world and like art critics and art galleries and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Art trading. So much of that is just bullshit. Specifically for like money laundering purposes. Seriously, I didn't know that. I learned that recently. I was like, wow, that's
Well, there's a really interesting documentary about a guy who's in prison for a bunch of forgeries.
it's really
that
well,
he
not
made.
even forgeries, but like it's really easy for like an artist is made by the gallery basically. So if a gallery owner decides to tout you and sell your portraits and they get people to buy them, if it's a notable thing, then more people want to buy it, even though it may be shit. If somebody important has quote unquote important has given it attention, then it's going to gain traction. So people can, I think there's been cases of but certainly potentially it could happen where somebody would just raise this person up as an artist who may not have any artistic ability at all, really.
Yeah.
And charge whatever the hell they want for these works of art, and people would buy them.
Yeah,
And
actually,
they do that deliberately for a way to launder money in some, I've heard, in some instances. And like, I don't know. I'm saying this with a grain of salt. This is what I've heard. And
Do your own
I can
fact-finding.
certainly see it. I'm what?
do your own fact finding. People,
I'm what?
I'm just encouraging everybody,
Oh,
reminding
do your
everybody to do
own
their
fact
own
fighting.
fact-finding.
Gotcha. Yes, exactly. But I, I don't know if it's true or not, but I can certainly see where it could easily.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I
And
mean, I don't.
my feeling of it is that, I can easily see that being the case. Because there's so much of that bullshit.
Well,
Of people
there's
being like, oh, just to feel important and act like they are.
Do you know who Banksy is?
Yes.
There's a.
Oh my gosh, I meant to mention something about that specifically to you.
There's a movie called Through the Gift Shop, I think it is, and it deals with this guy called Mr. Fantastic or whatever. That seems like he really was just a creation by Banksy to see if he could create buzz around person so that people would buy him, and they did. And it's, but he didn't admit that that's what he's done, but it seems like probably that's what happened, because what it is that this guy was supposed to be documenting Banksy, but then after doing it he wanted to see if he could do Banksy type stuff, but I don't know that this guy really, I don't know, it's interesting, but it deals with questions like that, right? Because it's like, because then is it maybe still then art because it's Banksy who's doing it, you know what I mean? And it's nuts. But yeah, it's like you take a drawing of a scribble and I say, hey, this is my 5-year-old that did this, it's one thing. If I say Picasso did it, it's the same exact thing. Two completely different things. Could be the same exact piece of art, same exact piece of art.
Yeah.
And you would look and but it's not the same exact piece of art.
Yeah.
So and some of that's deserved, and some of it isn't. But then, is art? What is art? What is art?
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines, and it's like there's so many different things it can be, and largely it has to do with what it is to you, like what personally do you take away from it. But again, it's such a varied field, and there's so many different aspects of it, and so many different elements about it that you can be referring to.
Does art have to be intentional?
So, I mean, yeah, you can talk about the different types of art. You can talk about the materials. You can talk about the processes. You can talk about the societal aspects of it. You can talk about the industry of it. And all those have all different connotations and things within them that you could speak to. But if you're just talking about, like, what art is, I think it should be something that affects you. So if you look at something and it makes you see something differently than you did before, if it evokes a feeling, then I think that's art. Does it need to be symbolic of something? Not necessarily. Does it need to be saying something? Not necessarily. Is a picture, is a photo art? Could be. Depends. So there is intention that can play into it. But like if what was the one that did Is it?
I think
Polish?
I think if art is intentional or not, I think it's a big question, because it's just saying, can anything be art, or does art have to have intent? Does art have to have an artist?
Yeah.
Can you just take, is whale song art, or is the wind rustling through trees, is that art? Or if I just take a camera, I set it out in the middle of nowhere and have it randomly take pictures, are those pictures art?
Yeah, I meant more like symbolically, meaning like if within because a lot of the old paintings and stuff, they break down and say like, oh, Leonardo was talking about a certain making a comment about a certain ruler during this time, and something that was happening specifically based upon the angle of the way that the baby Jesus is held in the lap of Mary, and the angles here and how they intersect means that it was referring to this leader because of blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So
saying he had a
that level
penis.
of symbology inherent, and a lot of this stuff is interpretation after the fact, and how much of that is just trumped up bullshit about somebody trying to have their 15 minutes or they own or know who owns the photo or the painting or whatever, and trying to increase value on it or whatever. And how much is you really can't know for sure until you talk to the artist and know that the artist is actually being genuine about what they intended when they did something.
Well, it's like, but then the thing is like, okay, so songs. I mean, I think that we generally would regard songs as art, music that people create. But then there's songs where people don't know what they're meaning. They just put the words together. And so it could be just random. So there's now, because it wasn't intentional, fully intentional, but then neither is, no artist plans for every atom to go wherever it is. Nobody plans for any of that. You don't consciously plan all these things, so then it can get attributed to the subconscious. But then, even if you go beyond, so like music, so some say, I don't know what this means, or it has multiple meanings, so, and then if it's has to have meaning, then do you have to know the correct meaning, or you're not correctly appreciating the art, which seems total bullshit. And then is it just like,
there's so many elements to it, because like with music specifically, it can change meaning based on, to you, personal meaning, based on what you know or don't know about it, how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
So for me, I prefer in many cases to have music that does not have lyrics, or if it does have lyrics, that those lyrics be either in a foreign language that I don't know, or in a made up vocalization language.
Right.
So that it is not colored by the words or topics brought about by what they're saying. That I can just appreciate how the music.
You're just appreciating the human voice as an instrument,
and the rhythms and things.
Yeah, you're appreciating the voice as an instrument.
Yeah.
Not in the poetry and
so much time. Like, okay, so if it were music that does have vocals, but they're in a foreign language, and then I find out that what they're actually saying is something that really offends me, then it just ruins the song.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I really wish I didn't know that. I so enjoyed that before I knew that that's what that song was about to them. Like, that's what they were saying.
Right.
It's just ruined the music for me now.
Yeah.
And that's so much the case. Even sometimes when they're speaking English and I just can't understand some of the words they're saying, and then you find out, or you do, but you take it to mean one thing, and what they actually meant by it was something else that, is totally not in keeping with what you were going for.
Yeah.
Then it can just totally ruin it for you.
Yeah.
And so what was once beautiful and endearing to you is now just an annoying, ugly thing.
Yes. But I'm not sure what point that was connected
just
to.
Like a personal appreciation of art, and you specifically mentioned music, and that's what spurred it onto. Yeah,
I mean, and that's, I guess, we're talking about intent and things like that, and I don't know. I think that art is an attempt to express emotion, and anything that is trying to do that, I think, is art, is an attempt at art. But then I think that, like you're saying, that beauty's in the eye of the beholder sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's from like art creating art relationship. There's an art to art. There's an artist to art relationship, and then there's an art to consumer of art relationship.
Yeah.
And those things are different, and those three can overlap and they can work off of each other, but you don't have to have those, right? We could take a book that's written, we don't know who the author is, and we can still appreciate the art of it, right? That art can still exist without having to know who the author is,
Yeah.
them being able to explain their intent, right? We don't need those things. We don't have to know who created a sculpture, an ancient Egyptian sculpture, to know that there's art in it and be able to appreciate the art in it. So I think that there is something about the honesty of the attempt of the art being created, but that's separate than the art that is created and how people engage with that art once created. And I think that those things, I've always kept those things and linked together. And just so our conversation right now, I think that they're separate. I think that they live separately.
And I think that there needs to be a distinction largely about, okay, this is symbolic art. Okay, this is realistic art. So
I don't think
you
that
can't say that these are,
I don't
exclusive of each other, and that because this is art, this isn't art. They're both art.
Well,
because like if you're just taking painting a picture of a landscape, there's the skill that goes into that, not just to picture, like if you're going for a realistic approach, not just in how realistic you can make it feel and how true to the subject it is, but also how it's appreciated by the eye, how it makes the person feel.
See, and that's the thing is, I think that the conversation, and we do a really bad job of we as people do a bad job, I think, discussing this, is that art and illustration, we use those when we mean one, when we actually mean the other. And that we think all illustration is art, and we think that all art should be judged on the merits of illustration. And I think that they're two sides of the same coin, and I don't think that one can ever exist truly outside of the other.
So
I think all illustration has some art in it. Like, I think if you try to do a straight up cover of somebody else's song, you're always going to be putting a little bit of yourself into it, no matter how much you try not to. And that anything that is abstract has at least some tie to something illustrative. Something. It's tied even in the most basic primary sense. It still is trying to illustrate something. And so I don't think those things are ever separated from each other. They're very yin and yang. They always have a combination of the two, but they tend to have different aims. An illustration is trying to, photorealistically, to represent something as accurately as you can, as you would see it with your eye. Whereas art, I think, is trying to, illustration is successful when it most accurately represents what it's trying to depict. And I think art is successful when it most accurately depicts something in its inaccuracies, through its inaccuracies. And I think for me, that's the difference between art and illustration. One of them is the emotional context, whereas one of them is the skill and the technique.
See, illustration to me just always kind of referred to like an illustration in a book specifically, or a magazine or something.
If I talk about a skill, a profession that is as an illustrative artist,
yeah,
and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a graphic artist, an illustrative artist.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make, I'm making a drawing of a car. That's what they're paying me to do. I'm getting paid to make an illustration of something that looks like something else. And you could use different words, and we could argue semantics about it, but that's, you at least understand that where I'm coming from between those two different things. I definitely think those are two distinct ideals, and whatever words you would use to describe them from. But I do think that, people, I did this, like I judged myself on how accurately I could draw something, and that was how good of an artist I was. But that's not how good of an artist I was. That's how good of an illustrator I was.
That's another thing too, like to have a conversation about this, and it can change based on your individual understanding of the words that are being used.
Sure,
yeah.
With every conversation.
Yeah. So like I may be something what I'm thinking of illustration as, and saying something about illustration, and it be totally conflicting with what you're saying,
which is
from your
why
point of view, because you're thinking of illustration differently than I am.
And why I think it's important to have this conversation is what is art, right? Because art, I think, is it's a simple word to say, but I think it is a very complex, nuanced sort of thing. And I think that was the point that I was hoping to say. And I do definitely think that I've thought about this a lot since the mid 90s, the difference between art and illustration, and what is art. There's I heard recently somebody saying, your artistry, what you're bringing is all the parts you're doing wrong.
Well, I can understand what they're saying by that, but I don't like that.
So I do like that.
I think
another way to say this.
It's a flavor to your art. It's an aspect of it, perhaps.
But when you examine it, if you had a piece that was written, your version of it is all the places where it differs from the original. And that's you. That's what you're bringing. So it's all the pieces that are not all the pieces that are not the original are what you're bringing to it. That's the flavor that you're bringing.
Changing,
right?
But that could be potential. Changes could be potential.
But do you mean it's playing a different note? It's playing a different time. It's playing a different key.
Purposeful,
or not?
Yeah, it could be a mistake. But
it could be conscious
art, because if you say that art has to be purposeful, then
I don't think it has to be.
Then that's the opposite of that.
I think that for the artist, it has to be purposeful.
So it's the difference between the intention and the reception.
Yeah, but I think that that was a good question in it, but it sidelined me. Fudge stripes. That's okay.
Yeah, we're it is 2:20, by the way.
Oh well, yeah. I definitely
that we can unpack further.
Yeah, I definitely want to continue on this. Yeah, because I think art is it's a word that it's small and we think that we understand it, but I think it's way more complicated than what we think. It's the same thing like with like craft and creative. Like I always just thought creative was like arts and crafts, and that art can be attributed like arts and crafts, and that's a demeaning sort of term, I think, right? You don't arts and crafts and fine artists are two different sides of a spectrum.
Oh yeah.
And but yet, craft can also mean like, I'm honing my craft, right? It can mean skill at the highest level, right? And that's a lot different than crafts.
Yeah, the master craftsman.
Yeah. But so I think that there can be all of those things can be kind of packed into that, but we can definitely.
Yeah. At what point did craft become used for arts and crafts versus?
It was an agenda by Elmer Paste, and they won. They won it. They won that round.
Technology of craft.
Elsie, you win this round.
Your craft versus a craft. So a craft is just something that you produce, I guess.
I put in our Patreon, I describe this as like,
something
hey,
you make
it's like we do nerdcraft, and it's like not arts and crafts. It's like, honing your craft or like witchcraft. That's the kind of craft we're talking about.
This is according to visualartscork.com, talks about illustration and references illustration as a drawing, painting, or printed work of art, which explains, clarifies, illuminates, visually represents, or merely decorates a written text which may be of a literary or commercial nature. I know, we definitely have a lot more to unpack there.
Yeah. The good thing is I think that we're agreeing in concepts.
This is cool.
So that's fun.
What I can definitely agree on, I don't know. Okay. Randomly sexualized illustrations. People making love on the back of a dragon breathing fire and a Japanese-styled sky background. Okay. I don't know why this thumbs up is a
Oh,
general illustration.
No, that's my wallpaper.
General.
That's my wallpaper. Sorry about that. It's
Is
probably,
a
it
general
changes. It changes.
illustration art Google search. Along with next to it a severed zombie hand giving the
Western grip or Eastern?
well, both at the same time. I think it's was that I love you in sign language, or
nice.
if you make it go like this, then what is that? Hang loose and
you open the doors and there's the people.
A Hawaiian version of that too. Ooh, that's cool.
Open the doors.
All right. Anyway, so about time to wrap up.
Yep. So I want to thank everybody for their time and their attention today, and that is very sincere. And Randy, thank you so much for your time and your attention today, brother. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, brother.
Thanks everybody for listening. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe and the bell icon. That will let people know that hear ye. You are interested in knowing when we post stuff, and so that'll help you get notifications. So that's why the bell is so important. We ask you to share. That's really important for us to grow our channel, is for you to share, and that's where you tell your mother, you tell your brother, you even tell your secret lover and or lovers about Studio Johnny Q, where they're taking that sweet nerd stuff and they're trying to make it just a little bit better. We have our recommended gear, our Patreon page, the Quasi Shop, where we have all of our stuff. Randy, I sent out a newsletter, and to all the people that are subscribed on the on the Quasi Shop. I want you to have about like 150 people that gave me their email, which is really funny though, because nobody takes a look at the emails that you send them, because the thing tells me like I sent 150 emails and one person looked at it, and then it tells you if people will click through. So I got
like I said, I keep getting everything but what you're saying on
yeah.
Instagram.
Well, and some of that stuff, it goes.
I
I had it to where it got sent by the Quasi Shop, and I think it just went into everybody's like spam thing. So I actually sent it to a handful of people. So you may have saw an email from me, and it said, "Your mother is of such a nerdy inclination that ...
Yeah, that's
so
one of the
that
things
was,
I wanted to talk to you about. I don't remember exactly why I've got it. We'll talk about that after the fact.
Yeah, and so that was just me trying to get some people to close to take a look at the stuff on the Quasi Shop. But yeah, it said your mom is of such a nerdy inclination that, and on the inside of it, it says that she thinks that Kim Kardashian lives on Deep Space Nine. So, but yeah, so we do have stuff out there. And if you can sign up for the newsletter through the shop, and you will get amazing emails such as that you can look forward to in your email box. You may have to dig for it in wherever you get your sales pitches and your email. Gmail does a pretty good job of filtering some of that stuff out these days. So there's that. We had our video that we posted about the YouTube. Oh, and also I am currently working on the next D&D video, which will be the first one of those. So it's really nice not dealing with 40 hours of footage to try to make a video. I had, I think, 20 minutes or something like that. I was like, oh, this is already like a breath of fresh air.
Nice.
So that is, I'm working on that. Hopefully within the next week and get that out. I'd like to try to get out at least one of those a month, if not two. But so we got that. I think that's all.
I didn't want to talk about the bell though, because you switched it, because I mentioned last time about that. It was ticking me off that you referred to my town crier bell as the submarine bell.
Yes,
because I found it in an antique shop.
Yeah, and it is awesome.
Really cool, and I immediately was like, oh my god, I have to have this. And I like to think of it as like
a hear ye.
Yeah.
Hey.
It's 12 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
And it's
all is well.
It's Q time and all is well.
Yeah. Okay.
It's Q time and all is awesome.
Yep. And see, when I hear it, it makes me think of
dive.
Dive. But I'm trying. I heard what you were saying, Randy.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And I didn't.
You don't need to.
I heard it, and I appreciate it, because I really like that you brought the bell. That really touched my heart. So I want to make sure. But it is very similar to the one that we use for Captain Krusty. And actually, we'll ring that one now so he can come and get us and bring us topside. But Randy, do you have anything else before we leave with the doctor's promise?
That is it. Just remember to love yourselves and love one another.
And if
one day at a time.
And
take it easy.
If you made it this far, I want you to say, I want you to type in the comments, great googly moogly. I did see that Lloyd had commented on one of our videos the other day on Croissant Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. What's up, Lloyd?
And yeah, so yeah, if you made it this far, great googly moogly in the comments. Hashtag. And you can spell however you want. And with that,
Great googly moogly.
great to the giggly to the moogly. Excuse me, sir. Would you happen to have any great googly mooglies? Oh no, it appear to be fresh out. So yeah, with that, we will leave you with the doctor's promise: never cowardly, never cruel, never give up, never give in. We look forward to talking to you guys on Thursday.
Peace, peeps.
Peace. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Randy. Try to brush quite a bit of stuff today, actually.
Oh, you're not. Yeah.
It's funny how it transforms.